Hello.
Hey Mac, how are you?
I am tired. How are you?
I'm tired too, but
Well,
probably for different reasons.
this is Marvel Time issue number 84. We have some great comics to talk about this week, as well as the first episode of Moon Knight, which hit Disney Plus today. And then, of course, we'll recap the latest Marvel news as well. So let's dive right into comics, start off there, as we normally do. Let me get this out of the way. There we go.
Yeah.
Uh, we'll start off with Immortal X-Men #1. What did you think?
So it's interesting because I've been kind of gone for a couple weeks, so I had a lot of comics to read, and so I just finished you know 10 Lives, 10 Deaths of Wolverine, and I'm interested. They got me invested. I really want to know what's going on with Moira McTaggart and all that stuff. Um, I did like how this one was a bit of a catch-up issue. Like, there were some references to some things, but there was some nice actual prose. Like, here's what people know. Here's what people don't know.
Right.
And they use Sinister as like a way to kind of like make it humorous and not completely out of left field. But I will say it did seem a little wordy.
Yeah.
Um, in that the Sinister it's an extra length issue. It's a 6 book comic, and it was just like that Sinister sort of self-righteousness. I mean, which is fun in small doses. There was just a little too much of it here,
Yeah.
and at the end I was kind of like, just get me to where we're going here. And there's a lot of it almost felt like they wanted it to be a long comic, so they added in like it's like the extended editions of like the Hobbit films. It's just like it's not really necessary. They just do it to do it.
Yeah. That I totally agree. This one took me a long time to get through. It like you said, it was longer. It wasn't crazy long. I think it was like 36 pages or something like that. But it was wordy. There was a lot to it. It was almost 100% focused on Krakoan politics. And I'm torn because I do love Sinister, and I really like getting a story from his point of view. But I think you're right. This was a little bit much for that sort of story. There was a lot to kind of go over in this. There was just like you said, it was very wordy, and I still feel like it was very informative. There was a lot of catching up to do. I do have to finish 10 Deaths and 10 Lives still because I just haven't had a chance to catch up on last week's comics. But um, yeah, there was just a lot going in, and I still feel like I'm missing something in the whole X, universe. There's just always so many moving parts, and it's hard to keep track of everything. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. But yeah, at this point, it feels like a typical X book. Jumping to a completely different story, we're going to move on to Iron Fist #2. I am also kind of torn on this one because I like this new character. I like this Iron Fist. I've never really been able to get into the lore of Kunlun and that sort of story with dragons and ancient chi and all of that. Like doesn't really appeal to me as much as a lot of the other Marvel characters do. So I'm really interested in Len Lee's story, but overall, I don't know. I'm not super into this story here.
I This is sort of the opposite to me of another book we'll get to, but like it could have sped it up a little bit in
Mm-hmm.
that we know the superhero who needs to find his center. I mean, it felt like I was watching like if Doctor Strange was Iron Fist, and I mean, just like literally his hands don't work right.
Right.
They make him do all these skills, and it just felt like we've seen this time and time again, and it works fine in a origin story movie and stuff, but it just
Right.
feels like for an Iron Fist book where you're supposed to show a new Iron Fist, it just felt like an old Iron Fist. I mean, not and like on this cover, you see Danny Rand as as a superhero, not really in this book,
Right.
but I mean, he appears as like a civilian, but I don't know, it just felt a little disjointed. And you know, I don't care enough about him yet to care about his struggles. Like, I
Sure.
feel like I need a little bit more of, if you're going to go give me a flashback of, I mean, he spends part of the comic book talking about how Shang-Chi trained him, and then we get a whole other montage about him being trained. At some point, like, you just need to be the hero. Like, get over yourself.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you mentioned that you felt like it needed to be sped up, because in the last like 2 or 3 pages of this issue, it's almost like a training montage on one page. Like, you just see a whole bunch of training happening.
I'm pretty sure I heard "Eye of the Tiger" in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And then it feels like the story kind of jumped forward. Like, disjointed is the right word there. Like, there's no sort of segue from one page to the next. It feels like we skipped ahead a little bit, but I don't know. I'm interested enough to give this another shot to check out Iron Fist #3 and follow Len Lee's story a little bit more. I'm just not sold on the whole Kunlun mythology. But I don't know about you, but I started with these 2 comics that we've talked about, and then I finished up with these next 3. And to me, we got better and better as it went on. And we're going to talk about Captain Marvel.
I'm going to disagree with you, but okay.
Really? Okay, we're going to talk about Captain Marvel #37 here. And I really enjoyed this one. I like that they tell you right from the beginning, jump on now for a new arc. I didn't. I didn't. We haven't talked about Captain Marvel a whole lot on here, and so I missed the introduction of Binary. But they do kind of give you pretty much everything you need to know in this issue here. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think. Well, I have a lot of thoughts. It was definitely had a multitude of emotions for me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a cat person, but still don't love that part. I mean, tell the story you gotta tell. But I was glad. What's his name? Chewie showed up.
Yeah.
To kind of make me feel better, even though he's not a cat. So, spoiler alert, you can kind of infer what happens. But I did like the sort of like girls' night out with superhero part. That I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought the stuff with Binary and just sort of like the ET part where it's like, welcome to this world,
right.
That was a lot of fun. So but fun with a major downer in the middle.
Right.
There's a cat in here. There's Goose. I want to keep saying Goose, but there's Chewie. There's another cat, and then there's like these weird cat tiger things.
Yeah.
So, insert joke here, but there's a lot of cat.
There is, yes, there was. Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. That was like, and it was only like a page and a half that they took to dedicate to this major, not that it's a major story point or anything like that, but like it was a complete change in mood, and like it really hit hard.
It reminded me of? It was like the Super Bowl a couple years ago where you're watching the game, and then suddenly State Farm has a commercial where they kill a kid.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get back to the game, or it's like you're watching the Oscars and you're just having a fun time celebrating movies, and then somebody slaps a guy, and you're like, I don't know how I can get back into this fun jet mood.
Or in my case, you weren't watching the Oscars, and then somebody slaps a guy, and then you start checking it out. But yeah, other than those couple of pages, this is a really fun issue. Binary is an interesting character. I'm excited to see where they go with her, and then huge things happen with Carol too that we're not entirely sure of just yet. We'll see how that plays out. So I'm interested to see where this goes from here. Next, we will move on we have 2 Spider-Man issues, and the first is Miles Morales Spider-Man #36, picking up where we left off. I don't remember how many weeks ago, but this was Miles found out that his uncle is alive, and he is lost somewhere in the multiverse, and he's going to start tracking him down, and that's exactly what we get. We get Miles in a sort of multiversal adventure. So if you're a fan of Into the Spider-Verse, here you go.
This is my pick of the week.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had this down as my pick of the week and then changed it.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. Nothing jumped out at like we had a lot of good comics. Nothing that jumped out at me is like, oh my gosh, I really enjoy this. But it's fun to see. It was fun to see Blurt in kind of like a variety of action modes. I mean, I make him sound like he's an action toy, but um, and Miles Morales and some sort of multiversal figures from the past, like Wild West Rhino and stuff like that.
Right.
So I just thought it was a fun. It's what Miles Morales should be, which is fun.
Yeah, it definitely was. That we also had a Wild West Black Panther, which was King, which was really cool, and then we got Spider-Ham in this one too, which was awesome.
I totally forgot. Yeah, Spider. I mean, anytime you're Spider-Ham, that's my pick of the week.
Right, that's a safe pick there.
Except now I have John Mulaney in my head every time I read Spider-Ham, which is not a great thing.
That's fair.
Nothing wrong with John Mulaney, but it's not.
No, I know what you mean. When you hear someone voice that character, that becomes the voice of that character.
Yeah.
I have a question about Shift, I think is his name, right? The big Miles clone. So I've noticed just in this issue, all he says is glurp. Like that's a thing that's been going on since the beginning. That's not what I noticed. But what I noticed is the text is normal, and usually when they're using it as like an onomatopoeia, it's in like italics or something. So I've always assumed it was like a sound that sounds like glurp, but it's not necessarily. It just looks like normal text. So I think he's actually just saying glurp.
Oh, I always thought it was like Groot. Like he just says glurp. Like
I don't. That's okay. All right. So I can see he's actually just saying glurp in different. Like sometimes he's shouting it. There's an exclamation point or something. But okay, I've been taking it as a sound that he makes. But yeah, notice that in this issue. But yeah, I did really like this. It's a fun multiversal adventures. They're jumping around to different universes, and it's really cool. Zombies too. Just a lot of really cool stuff in this issue.
Zombies too. Cameron Manheim and Milo Manheim and what's her name? Meg Donnelly.
Oh right, yes. Not that Zombies too, but Zombies also.
We're in Zombie Land.
Let's jump into our final issue, and as you can tell, this is my pick of the week. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 93. So, did you not enjoy this issue?
I just felt everything moved so fast. Like they're like going through pictures in the like grandma grandson kind of thing in the attic trying to clean up, and then suddenly he's like, oh my gosh, I have no memories. Like, I need to wipe your brain. Like now he's really trusting Beyond. Like, what the heck? Like, we've been going to this Beyond thing for a couple months, and it felt like it just basically fell apart in one issue. Like they're just like, nope, okay, we're gonna just like mind wipe, or whatever you do, whatever that goo stuff was that
yeah,
at the end. You're like there was no setup. Like we went from the Stewards battling, Morbius and the Lizard kind of, and then suddenly it was like, no, we got one issue, we got to finish this. Like it's like, I don't know. It kind of felt like when a show finds out it's going to be ending and they put everything into the last episode, and you're like, the pacing here just seemed. It was a fine issue. I think the art's great. But I was just like, we're wrapping this all up right now. Like, where the heck? Like, it just seemed. I mean, I feel like this Beyond thing, and I don't know what the backstage stuff is on it, but I just felt like their heart wasn't always in it, because it didn't last very long for like a big arc, and it just didn't seem like it seemed like we started establishing Beyond for a long time, and then suddenly like, nope, okay, we're gonna have them fight, and it's over. And then and it like makes no Ben's actions here make no sense. Whereas he's like, I want my memories back. I'm gonna fight you. Like, oh no, just let me get swallowed by goo. Like, it's okay. Like, what?
Yeah, I will agree. It felt like it moved fast. It did feel like we needed another issue focused on Ben, because that's sort of what led to the climax of all of this. And when recent issues have been more about Peter and even spinning off a little bit with like Colleen and Misty and stuff like that. But and maybe there's like a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome in play here, because we are coming off of the Kindred big story arc, and it felt like that finale just was like nothing.
Right.
And this to me felt like everything came together and just like exploded in one issue. And you're right, it was a lot for one issue, but we should mention too, it is a longer issue. This was 45 pages or something like that, so it does spread out a little bit there. But yeah, no, I really liked Ben's arc here, and I would have liked to see a little bit more depth to it. Maybe one more previous issue, but I thought his story was really, really interesting, and then really heartbreaking, and there was a lot of emotion coming out in these pages. So the big blow off fight between these two I thought was really entertaining and had some great moments for both characters. I am a little bit curious. Remember going back a few months now, they shared this cover and they said you might be surprised at who you're rooting for.
I was going to say that. I'm not surprised. I was rooting for Peter.
Right, yeah, it's pretty clear who you're supposed to be rooting for here.
So yeah, I guess the emphasis on might.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I wanted to point out too was there's an amazing new character design that is absolutely going to be my background on a phone or an iPad or something in the future, because that it looks so good, and I can't wait to see more of this new character. But yeah, I enjoyed this. Obviously, it is enough to be my pick of the week. I am happy to be moving on from the Beyond arc, but I did enjoy it, and it's something that I'll go back and read, from beginning to end all together, because I do feel like that'll play off a little bit better.
Yeah, and I mean it ends, but there's a big sort of tease. I'd be curious to see how well it flows into the next chapter.
Yeah,
like Beyond kind of came out of nowhere, and,
right.
There's a lot. I don't want to say loose threads, because there's people still around who are not Peter Parker, and I'm curious to see if this transition flows a little bit more, because then maybe this isn't as if this is just sort of an excuse to have a new number one, and then really the story continues. Maybe Beyond's gone, but the Ben Peter story continues. I don't know what's going to happen, but
we also Maxine is going to have a role to play too, so that's going to be interesting. So
yeah, that was me going all the way around that, not to say that, and then I wasted my time because Max is going to say it.
I had to. I liked it. I enjoyed this story, and I'm excited to see what we get out of the future. In the future for this story too. So, okay, so those are our comics for this week. But the big Marvel news this week was, the debut of Moon Knight on Disney Plus. I had already seen the first 4 episodes and have been biting my tongue for about a week and a half now. We can talk about the first episode now, and spoiler alert, if you have not watched the episode yet, we're gonna talk about it a little bit here. But
so I do want, we can talk about the first one, but I do want, not in specifics, but I do want your take on the 4 you've seen, just as a review, because they don't just say like, we'll give you 4. Like, they decide where they're gonna stop with you. And so, but anyway, I liked it. The whole time I wonder what it would be like if I had no idea who Moon Knight was.
Right.
There's a lot of you're like, okay, like you're just waiting for Khonshu to show up, and you're like, who's that voice? Yeah, it's probably gonna be Khonshu. Like, and about his his dissociative syndrome. So you know where it's headed, pretty much. If you've read a Moon Knight comic, I can't not have I can't like Men in Black myself to like it. So I didn't get a chance. I don't know how much Moon Knight Alex has read, but I didn't get a chance. If you're watching in the comments, if you haven't read Moon Knight, how did it feel? I thought it was really well done. I looking back, I go like, I'm surprised I didn't find the pacing slow, but just because I knew where it was going, but I didn't. I also felt like I was watching the Universal backlot for a little bit. But I don't know, what do you think?
I had the same thought. Actually, I was kind of concerned that people who aren't familiar with the character would find the pacing to be slow. And, this is a Marvel show where, this is the first one that's based on a new character. Like, this isn't, an established, we had WandaVision, we had Loki, we had Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So people are just getting to know Moon Knight. And yet, here's this first episode where we don't have a superhero on the screen until the last, 10 seconds. So I was curious if people were going to be turned off by that. And I want to talk to some of my friends and family after today and see what their thoughts are. But I like this first episode. I think Oscar Isaac is incredible. I thought, he is absolutely crushing this role. They did change the character a fair amount from the comics, so we'll see, how many differences there are going forward. But I still like it. I think the changes work. I think, comic book Moon Knight might not really fit in the MCU entirely. So, but I like that. This first episode was a lot of fun too. Like Moon Knight is a very violent and dark character, and they had a lot of humor in this first episode.
Yeah. What was the song?
There's quite a few. There's in my recap of the episode, I did specifically point out "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wham. Yeah. Because I was like, I watched it when I woke up this morning, and I was like, "Wake me." It's a great way to start your day. I do. Is it weird that seeing a live action human old lady die did not nearly bother me as much as a comic book cat?
Nope, I am 100% right there with you. So, I mean, maybe yes, maybe it is weird, but then we're weird together, so that's fine.
So I have a question. So you've seen 4 episodes,
mm-hmm.
and I don't want to spoil anything, but is this the tone we expect, or the tone, the pacing? Is this, we've seen a lot of our Marvel shows diverge after a few episodes, like they get you in, like WandaVision being a good example.
Yeah.
Is this does the show take that kind of turn, or is this kind of like a straight linear we'll go on this adventure one chapter at a time?
I will say the pacing is mostly the same, but there is a big turn. There's definitely a big turn. There's a reason they gave us 4 episodes to watch for sure. And that was one of the things too, because like you were saying, they don't just, this is a 6-episode series, or at least first season of the series. And I almost didn't want to watch 4 episodes, because I was like, then I have to wait so long until something is new. And I will have already watched more than half of the series, but after watching that 4th one, I totally understood why they had us watch 4. I can't wait to watch people's minds explode. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's fun to get back into the habit. I mean, we haven't had, no disrespect to Proud Family, Loud and Prouder, but not quite the same destination entertainment, waking up in the morning.
Right.
I mean, I love myself some Oscar Proud, but I don't need to talk about what happened every week as soon as I get to work. But because what was the last one before? I guess it would have been Book of Boba Fett. So,
yes.
We've had a bit of, about let's say a month of, since we've had a marquee Disney Plus show. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too far into it because we got another 3 weeks of you not being able to tell me what happens. But yeah, I liked it. It was a lot funnier than I expected.
Yeah,
and enough from just from the marketing, we got to get gritty. I mean, it's
right.
It's heavy in the combat, but it's not like the Batman.
Right, which I still haven't seen, by the way. I gotta get on that. But I want to point out too, Oscar Isaac. It was the idea to make Stephen Grant British and do that British accent completely Oscar Isaac. He read the characters that way, and that's why that happened. And so he basically brought this character himself. So really, really cool. And I just can't wait for people to see more of it. He's so good.
Well, and I think it makes sense in accents in comic books are more annoying than anything else. So, when you want to have a different perspective, easy way to do that in a TV show like this is just make them sound different, so you know who's there.
That's a fair point. Okay, so let's jump into some Marvel news, really from the past few weeks, because we haven't been around to talk. So we're just going to catch up on a few of the big things, including, of course, the first trailer for Miss Marvel, which feels like a long time ago now because of so many other things that have popped up. But we learned that Miss Marvel will be coming June 8th to Disney+. So not too much downtime between this and Moon Knight, which is really exciting. And even, I mean, this is going to overlap quite a bit with Obi-Wan. So that's interesting.
Presumably.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess we don't know how many episodes things will be, but there's really only, 2 weeks? I would think it's going to be more than 2 episodes. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so what did you think of the Miss Marvel trailer?
I liked it. I there's a lot of conversation about like changing her stuff, but I feel like, to me, the MCU is in many ways like the ultimate universe in that, not necessarily the same, but it's like there's so much baggage and history that you're not going to have in the MCU. There's just less, right? There's, even with Disney Plus, there's not 20 issues each week. So, and in comics, they always try and kind of, everything has to be connected because that's how they sell books, right? It's like, oh, you want to read this new character because she's connected to this other character or whatever.
Right.
So, it's okay. It's divergent as long as the spirit's the same. And I really, and what makes Ms. Marvel is, she's a fangirl. I mean, that's like the most important part of her, in terms of what makes her different than, Peter Parker or anyone else that we know. And so, I think they kept that, and I'm, I feel this is maybe getting too into it, but, I'm concerned that this one got kind of pushed back in the order. So it always makes you wonder, like, were there issues? But then at the same time, even if there were, Marvel tends to fix them. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just, it feels weird to be talking about this as like I watched the first episode of Moon Knight, but
right. Yeah, and I mean, talk about a change of genre and pace and everything from Moon Knight to Miss Marvel. But yeah, I think you're right about the changes they made, and then at the same time, it feels like they have that same balance that the MCU has had throughout. There really isn't an MCU series or movie that is taken directly from the comics where there's no changes. And I think there's, obviously there's changes to her powers and her origin. There doesn't look like there's going to be this inhuman element to it. But then at the same time, there are lines and shots that look like they come right from the comics. So, it doesn't get away from it too much. So I feel like there's the right balance there, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Some other big news, MCU related. We learned, according to Deadline at least, that we are going to get a Nova project, whether it's a series or a movie for the MCU. Character that I don't know that there's a different character that fans have been, clamoring for so long. I think Nova has been at the top of that list for a really long time. Are you excited for Nova? And if so, what do you want to see for this character?
So I'm going to be upfront that I don't have a long association with Nova. Cosmic, when I started reading Marvel, Cosmic was kind of de-emphasized. Mm-hmm. And, and I was kind of between, I read a little bit of the early Sam Alexander Nova comics, okay. Which was, I would not say prototypical Nova, and in MCU you have the Nova Corps and stuff like that. So, to me, this character he doesn't have a strong identity, but that is also an opportunity to, do something with it where you give it what's why does he exist in the MCU? What's his purpose in terms of storytelling? You don't just want, I'm a superpower guy. Yeah. You want, there needs to be a I don't want to say plot, but there needs to be a character, something that makes a character interesting. And, since there's many Nova, is that what you say? Is it Novum? What's the plural of Nova?
That's a good question. Novi.
There's many to choose from. I've never had speculation, but I'm just gonna treat it as speculation. Where they go with it. is this going to be a mentorship kind of situation? Which we've had a little bit of with Spider-Man, but not sort of more of a cameo kind of mentorship.
Right.
Or is this, how does this relate into the Guardians, which are kind of same corner of the MCU? So I wouldn't say I'm excited. This isn't a character I oh my gosh, finally Nova. And that's nothing wrong with Nova, just not what I read. So, but what's your take?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. Nova's not a character that I've read a whole lot of, but he is a big part of some crossover events. And I have been wanting an Annihilation series or movie for a long time, and now this is a big piece of that puzzle. Fantastic Four will probably have to come first, but I am excited for that possibility. I do also like the idea of and that's Richard Rider. That's sort of the first Nova, or the more well-known Nova, I guess, which is the one that you would see pictured here. But also Sam Alexander, who was the young Nova, kind of takes over later on, becomes a member of the Champions, teams up with Miss Marvel and with Miles Morales. I would like to see that element of it too. And I'll just say, based on rumors I've heard, that we're probably going to see both of that. Both of those characters branch off of whatever this project is, whether it's a movie or a series. So I'm excited at that prospect. And I hope we get to see, this character mixed with the Guardians of the Galaxy is obviously the obvious one for this character to mix with. So really interested to see that, and let the fan casting begin too, because everybody's going to be wondering who that's going to be.
And with Sam, if they go the Sam route or part, even if they share it, which would be kind of cool. We already have Ms. Marvel. We have, we would have Sam. We have, the twins. So you have this sort of, you're building this young Avengers, champions, whatever you want to call them, Teen Titans, a group that I think could be a lot of fun, particularly in a series format, where you can kind of, and I don't know if you watched Runaways on Hulu, particularly early on. It was, it's fun to have teen, you kind of mix with teen 90210 bit with, superhero stuff. You can be kind of fun.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this actually too would be a step up from that, because you have these characters established, you kind of have their stories already. And then when you bring them together, just like the Avengers, I think that could be a lot of fun. So we'll see where that goes. As for an old existing MCU project, not old, so less than a year at this point, but an existing MCU project, we got some changes to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. Some edits have been made. Interesting timing for this. Basically removed some violence from a few shots of this show. But only a couple of weeks after the Netflix series debuted, and the same day as Moon Knight debuts. So really, really interesting timing.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is that they created a bar for, that level, and they wanted to differentiate the Netflix stuff from the non-Netflix stuff, and, have a criteria of when it goes into the next level. It's the only thing I can think of that would be worth this time and effort.
Right.
I don't think everyone, there's always somebody, but I'm not going around like hearing a lot of people complaining about, minor stuff in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So it's just weird.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to go and check this out for myself yet, but I would think too, I have that same thought. It has to be because of the way they lined up the parental controls and everything now. But I would think then if you could, unlock the parental controls, do you still get the original shots as opposed to the newly edited ones? I'm not sure how that works, but.
And also, looking over them, it's not a big deal either way. It's not like it ruined the show or saved
right. Yeah, nothing changes the story or anything like that. It's basically some blood was removed, and that's about it. Stepping out of the MCU, we learned that Xbox Game Pass, people who subscribe to Xbox Game Pass can get 3 months free of Marvel Unlimited. We like to talk up Marvel Unlimited on here. It's fantastic. If you're going to read comics, that's the way to go. I get wanting to collect the hardcover or the hard copy in your hand as well. But if you want to read a whole bunch of comics, Marvel Unlimited is the way to go. And you get 3 months free with Game Pass. So if you're a gamer, you can play Marvel's Avengers and then read your comics too. And then we got a new book series announced. This is Black Panther script to page. So this is going to be the first of the series. And this is basically just going to tell you the story of the character and how this character came to be. You're going to hear from all sorts of creators, including Reginald Hudlin, Brian Edward Hill, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Roxanne Gray. So lots of big names there, and you're going to basically take you through the history of T'Challa, Shuri, the Dora Milaje, and that's the first of a series. We're also going to get Marvel's Spider-Man script to page and Avengers script to page, which I thought it was interesting that they're starting with Black Panther and not Avengers, but
I think maybe the timing of Wakanda Forever might.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is coming. So Spider-Man will be coming October. Avengers will be coming in November 15th. And Black Panther October 4th. So a whole bunch of them dropping pretty much in the same 2-month window. So
I think the term script to page is a little interesting because what's the script on? Right.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Are they chiseling the scripts into stone first, and then? That is. If you got script to screen, then that makes sense. But
or script to comic or script to I don't know. I mean, I don't have a better answer, so maybe that's where I ended up. It just
there you go. Yeah. Comic book news. We learned that Captain America #0 will be coming April 20th, and this is going to be launching 2 different Captain America stories. This is sort of the origin point for these 2 stories. You're going to have a Steve Rogers series and a Sam Wilson series that are both going to spawn out of this. Arnim Zola is involved, and then as you can see, it's kind of going to span the history of Captain America, which this art is fantastic, by the way. So I'm really excited to get into both of these. These will be coming. This comes April 20th, and then both of those 2 new series will follow. And then speaking of big new comics, Thor #750 will be coming April 27th. That is going to be a 74-page, just epic, honoring the history of Thor and bringing in some of the great creators who have worked on Thor over the years. So lots of history going into this one, and you can see our piece on this on laughingplace.com right now. There's a lot of artwork shared from various artists, so some really cool stuff to check out there. That again comes April 27th. And then finally, what we learned today, we got the identity of the Spider Smasher, the new character that will be coming in Miles Morales Spider-Man #38. That'll be coming May 4th. A new Spider character. Personally, I feel like there kind of too many at this point. I would rather narrow things a little bit, but hey, if they're going to keep expanding the universe, then you at least do it with a cool character design like this.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's hard. I don't very rarely do I look at a character and go like, oh, it's more about
here. And that takes me back to the end of Amazing Spider-Man that we read today. That character design was like, I am interested just based on what this character looks like. I'm on board. It's really, really cool.
Well, yeah, but you have
I know there's more to it than that. We know some things. So, but yeah, just the design is cool enough. So, yeah, that catches us up on our Marvel news.
I had a question for you, and I forgot it. Oh, sometimes you get to do some pretty cool things for Laughing Place, right?
I would say a little bit more frequently than sometimes, yeah.
And sometimes you got to take one for the team.
I know where this is going.
What are you doing tomorrow night?
I will be going to see Morbius, the new Sony Spider-Man spin-off movie that I will say I am very excited for one reason. I will no longer see the trailer for Morbius before every movie I go see. So I'm looking forward to seeing what connections they throw in there, and Michael Keaton's in there, so there's some positives, I guess, but we'll see.
Here's the thing: the upside of this movie is every time they do this, it just increases the chances that they will continue working with Marvel Studios with Spider-Man.
I know. So yeah, but yeah, we'll have a review up of Morbius tomorrow night, as well as any other news that stems from that movie. Of course, the review will be spoiler free, but any other news, obviously, spoilers. If you plan to see Morbius and haven't done so by the time that's up, so just keep that in mind. And in the meantime, we're going to count down the days till next Wednesday when we can watch the second episode of Moon Knight.
Yeah, and we're actually in the midst of a big Marvel content push. I should say in the midst, we're at the start of. So we're expecting great stuff from you for the next, 30 days or so. So leading all the way through Free Comic Book Day.
Which is May 7th. So lots of Marvel content coming your way. The Marvel Initiative, as we are calling it. We started off yesterday with my review of Moon Knight, which you can check out right now on laughingplace.com. We're going to have comic reviews and Morbius reviews. So you can be sure to check out all that fun content coming up over the next, like you said, month. Yeah, about a month. Today's the 30th, so a month and a week.
So I decided to pick up some Moon Knight and Marvel Unlimited. So I haven't gotten very far because I was kind of behind on current events. But I think we're in a good place with comics. So with what's it called, Judgment Day coming. I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah, we're gonna have another big crossover event that we're gonna jump into, and yet we didn't read a single one of them today. So
well, Devil's Reign, we got one more issue, right?
Yes, yeah, I believe so. So yeah, that one is wrapping up. You're right, but we already started Timeless. We have Avengers Forever. We've got the Reckoning War. So much going on right now, and then we're going to add in Judgment Day pretty soon. I haven't really been reading a whole bunch of comics. I've been very busy with just normal life, as you can tell by my setup here. I'm in a new location, so but I brought it up earlier as something I hope to see in the MCU one day. So I'll just say, read Annihilation. Really cool crossover event with Nova and the Guardians of the Galaxy and tons of other heroes. So it's a really fun. Recommend it.
Okay. Well, I don't know what we got going. We got people everywhere. So follow along, have fun. Tomorrow we're gonna have Star Wars headlines at 1 with Mike and Rebecca, and then Rebecca will be pulling double duty with a special edition of Barely Necessities at 3 p.m. Pacific. All here. I think that's all she wrote.
Oh, one more thing I want to mention. With Moon Knight dropping today, that means Zacks of Life will be coming back. So keep an eye out for a new Zacks of Life on Monday. Once Kyle...
on Monday. Kyle interrupting Star Cruiser to go...
So I was going to say, once Kyle gets off the Star Cruiser and comes back to Earth, we can actually record the podcast, and then we'll have it ready to go for you on Monday.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Mac. I'd like to thank Khonshu. And
all right.
See you next time.